events. What are your achievements? What are the challenges coming from inside? Oh man, we're gonna need a new roof on the club. Tractor broke, volunteer did all our social left, right? We're losing members, we're gaining members. We all know we don't have enough refs, right? All of those things, you just kind of summarize, organize your thoughts. On the other side, what are all the things you can't control, right? Rugby Ontario sucks, Rugby Canada sucks, we suck, Oakville sucks, Vikings suck, right? We know what the community is, right? We're all competitive and all those things, but you just throw them all out there. You can't control it, but be aware of it. And then, what are the challenges you're gonna have to face? And this is where I think all of us can do better, is that in the middle, you go to the top in Global Honda and they have a vision, right? We heard that in strategic marketing. What's their vision? And then you go down to North America, and then we go down to Canada. Or in Canada, we have Honda Canada's vision, then our zones, and then our dealers. Or in our world, Rugby Canada, Rugby Ontario, club. Right? So we do this just so we know we're aligned. So if we're all going over here to grow youth programs, but the province, Ontario, and Rugby Canada want to do nothing but men's senior, then don't be surprised when you ask for some help and they go, we got no resources, right? Or vice versa. I think collectively, and every time Rugby Canada, Rugby Ontario asked me for money at Honda, I said, I'll give you money, but I want to see this. Because we need a better job at it, right? And we still do, right? And then you throw yourself out some targets. So again, a way to organize thoughts. I'm not asking you to do any of it. I'm just trying to give you some ideas on, you can sit down and do this by yourself in an hour, right? And it's good to do it when you've had a pint and you're not, firefighting and you've walked away from the game for a bit. Again, trying to get all those things together, sit down, and what we do is we figure out what are our 3 fundamentals, right? No more than 3, because guess what? You can have 50 things. You're not going to do any of them, right? 3 things you can manage, 3 things you can remember, 3 things you can use to tell people when they have great ideas in the middle of the season, when you're already strapped, and they go, I got an idea, and you go, no, it doesn't line up. And they'll accept it if you've been telling it to them. In our world, quality of product, quality of work, things you do internally, just do a good job, right? The one on the right, again, I told you Mr. Honda fixed the heart. It's all about customer experience. We want to make sure that whatever customers expect, we exceed. And guess what? We're not a charity, right? Both Toyota, Honda, and every one of your companies, we got to make money or else guess what? We're not there tomorrow. So any idea that comes out, if it doesn't point eventually to one of these 3, not a bad idea, we're just going to park it, right? The other thing is you heard in the marketing, you've heard a lot of different things. If we don't do it digitally, younger generations won't want to play. Okay, so we've sat down, we've decided all those things that are coming against us on a story chart kind of thing. We're making sure our business is aligned with all the players that are above us and below us. We know our 3 things, well then, make 3 objectives. Do good quality work, make some money, keep customers happy. If you ask me, what do you do at Honda? Well, those are the 3 things I do. All right. And then you start putting your priorities together. So how do you do your priorities? And I think this is where, all the rest of the stuff, you guys can say, yeah, fluff, let's go Stralak, we want to go have a pint. This is kind of what I want you to take away, if that's okay. This is the result of our business planning in the past and in silence. Remember, I told you 20 departments, 180 people, right? We could tell them we had 3 priorities, but we ended up with that many things to do. And just to know how to read this, every one of these is an activity, right? Every one of these is from a department, and every one of these things needs resources, people, time, and money. I did this for my first 10, 15 years, right? But for my last 10 or 12 years, we said, this is stupid. Because at the end of the year, we'd do 2 things we'd actually finish, 2 things we never started, and everything else was in the middle somewhere. Right? And, you know, being in the rugby club now, the Vikings, and kind of helping out there a little bit, it's kind of how we feel at the end of every season, right? We did amazing stuff, and we had other stuff we just couldn't start. And there was a whole bunch of other stuff that we're like, oh, I wish I just had more, I could have done it better, right? Or finished it, or, right? So we had to find a better way. So this is the cheat sheet, right? This is the slide that you kind of do, is we came up with a way to say, okay, this doesn't work, right? Two things, usually sit in an ivory tower, you get the executives in a room, what's our strategy? This is what it is. What do we need to do? This is what it is. Okay, this is what we think are the main things. Okay, great. Tell everybody else to do it. Well, I've been told a lot of times, here's a plan, go do it. I don't know why, I don't know, I wasn't invested. I did it because I wanted to be paid, but you know, if challenge came at me, I didn't know what to do, right? So first of all, everything I'm telling you here, you probably already know, right? So I don't want you to make you think I'm trying to tell you that Honda has a better way, or I have a better way, or this is revolutionary. I just think there's a way that we can take this, and I've been able to, you know, through talking with John and living in the space I've been for a while, is I think it really translates to what we fight every day really well, right? So I just want to make sure that disclaimer. So why did we want to change things, right? First of all, we wanted to hear from the workers that actually had to do the job, right? Because guess what? If you talk to your volunteers, they probably have a lot of really good ideas. Now, some of them might sound stupid on the top. It's because they don't know the other stuff. But other times there might be some gold in there. So we wanted to hear with them. We wanted different points of view, because guess what? If you have the same three people in a room like me, old white guy and an executive talking to other old white guys, what do you get? Old white guy ideas, right? So we started bringing more people to the table, and we started hearing different things. We also realized that if you had more people at the beginning, they were bought in, which meant we were way stronger together, right? And then when we wanted to pull something off, we had many people that wanted to play instead of the same people going out there to cut the grass, put up the lines, put up the flags, get the burgers ready, and everything in between. Everybody knew why we were doing things and why we couldn't do other things. And we also got people that, the more people we taught how to think this way, the more people that could think that way, I didn't have to. So the process became, you know, business planning used to be, I could do it in 2 weeks. You see, December to March is now 3 months, because it takes that long to do this stuff, right? The steps I want to take you through quickly is at the beginning, right? We get everybody together, and we would simply ask them, go back to every one of your departments and ask your staff what worked and what didn't work, and be brutally honest. Right? We can't fix things if you tell me everything's good. So, and I don't want to know, you know, I don't want you to know why, I don't want to countermeasure, I just want you to know, but you have to ask somebody, what didn't work? Well, we did that project, it failed miserably. Then you have to ask why. Because each manager then was pulled back into a room with us, so we had 20-some people in a room, and we whiteboarded the hell out of it, sticky notes everywhere. And themes pop up, and I guarantee you these are the same themes if you do it with your teams, right? We found out that everyone said, yeah, the things that worked really well is when we collaborated and we did it early. Oh, really? Are we stronger together? Okay, that's good. Well, what didn't work is, well, I had a job and I had a bunch of activities, and then there was that unplanned one, another unplanned one, another unplanned one, and it was just too much, and we got swamped, so we couldn't get anything done. Okay, so you have to make some space then, right? If you're gonna get something new, then something old's gotta stop, right? And hey, how many times have you heard this at your rugby club? You're in the middle of a junior program, a big event, whatever you planned. It's halfway through the day, and someone goes, hey, you know what'd be really good next time we do this? Right? Everyone, you just smiled, because you've had that person. That person's coming from a good spot. But you didn't even finish the first one, and you're already thinking about the next one, right? Finish what you started before you worry about the next one. Because all of these things cause noise, right? And pull you away from your priorities. The next thing you know, you got 2 things done and a whole bunch of things have done, right? The one on the end was really just a selfish one because there was a ton of people worried every time they watched the news about the auto industry going in the tank. So we had to remind them that, hey, we're not going bankrupt. Honda will get through, Toyota will get through, right? Any company, right, that's going through stuff, if they're committed to it, they'll get through. So relax. We can't control it, right? There's a whole bunch of smart people on it. Let's just do good at what we're doing. So these become the guiding principles. And I'll tell you what, these are really good because if somebody comes to you in the middle of the next time and they all know that they were part of these principles and they say, hey, you know what'd be good next time? You go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's finish this one first. Then keep your idea, but let's not worry about it yet. And they actually believe it and they move on, opposed to, oh, Jeff doesn't listen to me and, you know, and all grumpy. The next thing we did is once we've given them those guiding principles, and you've already told us what worked, what didn't work, and why, we then told them to go back and with their teams again, and then talk about what is it you want to do next. But it has to link to our guiding principles, and it has to be, you know, in the framework of our 3 objectives. And everything was fair game. Like, we're not committing to do it all, just throw it all out there. We can do this at rugby. How many times when you are the, you know, the president of your rugby club and you clean the toilets, you do that all alone, right? And usually once it's all done, you then, just before the season starts, you bring out your head coaches and you bring out whoever's going to manage refs and you bring out whoever's going to help with the lawn care and you tell them the plan. But if you bring them in at the beginning and have them throw it all on the wall, right, you're going to end up getting a bunch of stuff like this, right? Again, a shit ton, I can say that here, right? That's a legal term, right? Of ideas, which are great, right? You don't want to shoot anything down, you don't judge them. But with them, the people who are taking care of the lawn and the field and they think their life's the most important, make them sit in a room with a guy or a gal who's in charge of making sure if we don't get enough membership, we don't have enough funds, we can't keep the club going. And with all those ideas they have together, make them put in a very simple matrix, right? What has the most value for our objectives, where we want to go? Those 3 things, remember, keep people happy, make money, do good work. And what's most critical? Sometimes you can say, what takes the most effort? Right? And guess what? That person who is going nuts about how you have to buy a new riding lawnmower will get real quiet when he realizes that he himself has decided it's around here, right? Because some of the things he heard are critical that if we don't do, we don't have a clubhouse, we don't have membership, we don't have a club. Which guess what happens for the rest of the year? He doesn't bitch and maunder and grumble and, you know, keep fighting for it because he knows if we don't do those things, we can't go. Right? Remember we said finish what you started? Yeah, these 99 key and stuff is just how we count in Japan for some reason. But we had a whole bunch of things from the previous year we didn't finish. Okay, so they're there too. Right? So you play this exercise and eventually you say, okay, I guess that's our plan for this year. Right? So you just had 100 ideas by all the people that are the key stakeholders. And you've now decided that what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 things. Remember I had 20 departments, 180 people? This was literally the things we committed to with our president. We're going to do 18 things for the next 90 days at Honda. That's it. And if we get through that first quarter and some of those fall off, we'll then go back and look at the other stuff. We didn't forget about the other stuff, but we just said, that's all we're going to focus on. Your business is pretty simple if you do this. If you try to manage all of it, you drive yourself nuts. Trust me, I've done it. Right? The last thing you do is you then give those departments back those 18 things and say, okay, training guys, there's 18 things on the board. How do you have to support it? Right? And you go you let each department manager do it. They bring it back to you, right? And you start to look like something like this. These are the sticky notes. These are now my ideas to tie to those 18, and they then start to become activities. Right? And remember I showed you all that mess from doing it in a silo, right? If you do those things well, that becomes your business plan. That's it. Same group of people, same challenges, same things. 180 people just had to do those things, and those KPIs are how we're gonna measure it, right? The reason I think this can work for us is because we have all the same problems. You have all the things that are out of control, you have finite resources, you got a million good people with good ideas, but unless you involve them at the beginning, it's impossible for them to understand why you say no. And if they're muttering while they're pushing the old riding lawnmower because you wouldn't buy them a new one, it just becomes noise that pulls away energy and effort from the club. But if they knew that, yeah, I get it, we can't get it this year because we need a roof or something else, then they're just cutting the grass, they're moving on, they're doing what they're doing, right? So, you know, this is literally from, like, I didn't make these slides, these are the slides we actually used to kick all this off. And, you know, it's in Honda speak, so who cares? But I think it just comes down to 3 things. Get your group together early, right? And ask them what worked, what didn't, and why. And find those themes, those guiding principles. Why are the Vikings successful? Well, they do these things, right? Why is Oakville successful? Why is Guelph successful? And have your key stoicos, the ones you know who are going to be the volunteers to help, right? You might have a table of 2. If you're lucky, maybe you got a table of 15, right? But this works whether it's one person doing it by yourself, right? I've done this, right? Let's see if it worked first. Then I brought in one department, then I brought in all departments, right? Once you've done that and you know your themes, right? Are you gonna finish like you started? Are you gonna make space? Are you gonna keep calm? Are you gonna be stronger together? Then you can do the other exercise. And when you put all your crazy ideas together with those people again, right, and you prioritize it, now everybody's invested because they have a voice and everybody knows what's important. But everybody also knows that the things you haven't said no to, but you're not starting yet, are still there. So they're going to help you with the first things because they want to get to their things, right? And that's really, I know I tried to go through it quick. I know there's beer at the end of this. I know there's a wrap up, but, you know, again, I want to be very clear that Honda's no better, right, than any company you all work for. This isn't revolutionary. There's nothing new, I'm telling you. I just have a lot of experience doing this because this is primarily why I moved around, was because for some reason my head, I know I'm on the spectrum somewhere, my head connects dots different. So they put me in those roles. But then when I'm at the club and I see that we're doing the exact same thing and I'm watching the frustration and all the noises and I'm seeing it at work every day. It's like, well, why can't we do this? And if I have a plea for all of you, since I got the mic and John's going, oh no, what's he gonna say now? Right, is that middle where I said Rugby Canada, Rugby Ontario and clubs, like I love this sport, I really do, right? But if we don't get those 3 egos in check and decide what we want to do together, and even those clubs, I love that we have all these clubs here today and that we can lean on each other to make it better. Who cares what happens on the pitch, win or lose, right? Who cares about the history that's been there, because nobody wants to forget it. It's baggage we carry. But if we sort that stuff out, maybe we can get rugby in this country back to where it was. So, well, I really appreciate y'all letting me speak and tell you this. If you get something from it, great. If you don't, well, I bought you time to your time. So, questions, comments? Well, good. Nick, am I all right? Did I do all right?
I'm just curious, how many of you actually have a strategic plan? How many of you actually use that strategic plan? Less numbers. Good. It's one of those that I sit on my kids' soccer board because I got annoyed at how they're doing things. And it's one I looked at their strat plan. It was a 3-page PowerPoint. It made no sense at all. So, which is why talking was this summer.
No, I had 2 beer and I was bitching at him. How it started.
I was trying to be nice. Yeah, he was being. But yeah, it was the need for this. For me, it's vital. It's something that was also trying to time it. We're talking about alignment. Ours is ending this year. I know there was an awful lot done during COVID time and when this one was put in place, but it's being renewed. So how we start to work with clubs on what is our priorities going forward is vital. So that's why it's one of those things this year that we're going to start seeing. So that's where that kind of alignment really comes into play on that. But before I kind of lose the resource, are there questions? Rob?
Time scale for a club to do a strategic plan, like this sounded like it was like a 1 year, getting your priorities right. It's like a lot of strategic plans, like 3-year plans, 5-year plans. What's the right time period that we should be focused on for a strategic plan?
I think, you can pick a 3-year roadmap, 5-year roadmap. Trust me, we do those too. I had more slides to go and I was like, no, John's gonna kill me. And quite honestly, I wouldn't want to watch me talk that long either, but whether it's you want to do a 1-year plan, a 1-month plan, a quarterly plan, a 3 or 5 or whatever. We fall in the trap, as what John mentioned earlier, is we build it. And then we get everyone to buy into it. And then we go and fight fires every day. And then 3 years later, someone goes, oh, we got to redo our 3-year plan. Where is that? Where did I save it? Right? Our business planning that used to be once a year, and that every year, and then every 3 years, we do a 3-year plan. We do 90-day plans now, right? That's why I said that those 18 items we identified, we committed to my president, we'll do those in the next 90 days. Why? Because guess what? A 3-year plan is great to have that North Star, just to keep you going. But that's kind of why you have 3 objectives, right? Well, what are the 3 things I always want to do? Right? You heard in strategic marketing, if you were in there, what's your values? Where's your North Star? Keeps you going. But you can build a 3-year plan and in 90 days it's outdated. Why? Because guess what? Rugby Ontario changed something. Rugby Canada changed the fee structure. COVID hit, guess what? You're not playing rugby for 2 years. How's your 3-year plan working out now? Right? So I think it's okay to have a North Star. I think it's critical that you should all know where your North Star is, right? And then I think it's great to do this exercise with the right players in the room. But only commit to the next 90 days. Have a backlog of stuff you're ready to get to, right? But pick a 3 months or even in rugby, just pick the season, right? Start doing this, get your teams together in January, right? By the time we get into February, you got it. And then as soon as the season's over, go back and revisit it, right? I'm the guy in charge of doing the strategic shit. And I love when they come in and Japan's like, Jeff, what's your plan to 2050? Retirement. That's my plan, right? It's like, well, what do you want it to be? Because quite frankly, it's great to know we're going to be here. Like we've had to do that to transform our entire business to EV. But our plan was to transform our business to EV. But how you get there, you break out the chunks and then you can only focus on this. Right. And by the time you're ready to go to the next one, but then just go check your environment. Did everything change? Does it still make sense? Most of the time you have to pivot or tweak it. Right. So I think it's good to have a 3-year plan. It's always great for shareholders. It's always great for membership. Look what we got. That's great. But then you got to walk the talk. You got to walk the walk. So I hope that helps a little. Oh.
It's also quite important to have, as you said, like the regular check-ins. So you could have your 3-year plan, and then you can say, okay, year 1, we're going to do this. Year 2, we're going to do this. Year 3, we're going to do this to achieve our goals. But you need to have the regular check-ins because, as you said, we all have great ideas and great plans for the season, but there's always something that throws. There's always that wrench that throws whatever in, and throws you off balance. But it's important that you have these check-ins because sometimes you need to readjust your work plan. Or maybe you're on schedule or you're like, actually, we need to drop that and do it next year because we don't have volunteers to do it. Or, hey, we got some extra money. We could do that now. So
that's why that
love that topic and
that matrix.
Love medium low because it's kind of like, this is what we want to do. This is if we've got the resources, and then this is the love to have, kind of thing. Like this is the most important this is what we'd like to do if we have whatever more resources, and then this would be fine.
Yeah, yeah, we committed to 90 days to do that. And I owe the president an update in 90 days to say, did I do that? Right, and sometimes I will, like, this happened this year, I was in the room on Monday, that's what I'm gonna do. Wednesday, I was on a call with Japan, you can't do 2 of those. So, that was okay, we just put it over on the parking lot. And then we opened up onto the next 2 green boxes and said, what can we replace it with? And then that quarterly update, you're checking. Hey, boss, remember I told you I was doing 2 things? Well, this happened, so those 2 are over here, but here's the 2 new ones, and why? Okay, Stralak, I pay you to go do a job, right? If you think of the rugby season, like, we do it quarterly because we're corporate, right? But what's a rugby season have? You have to have prep. Then you gotta do it, right? And that's just a sprint, right? 4-month sprint the season, you can't catch your breath, so don't worry about thinking anything new. And then wind down. Right? So maybe that's the check-ins you have, right? We're gonna commit to do this to be ready for the season. And then check, did we get it there? Right? And if we did, great. If we got extra resources, do we want to add or do we want to save? Right? And then what are you gonna do while the season's on? We're gonna do these festivals, 2 fundraising events, a tour, right? Win at McCormick, an owl, right? Grow our youth program, whatever you decide. And then once it's over, did we do it? And then what do we gotta do next? Right? Like, just break it up that way. We've all been there. You guys know this way better than I do. The minute the season starts, it starts. And then you run with your hair on fire, right? And you get to the end and it breaks my heart, but I see it. I walk in at the first joined the Vikings Club 14 years ago. Johnny and Lisa Watkins, everybody knows them. They are the Vikings Club, right? They did everything. And hey, welcome to the club. This is amazing. Look, and then I watch as a dad. Look at all the cool things for my kid. And Lisa and Johnny are amazing. And then I go to the very end of the season and it's just winding down. And hey, how's things going, Lisa? I hate rugby. I can't wait till it's over. And it's like, oh, what's like, and not knowing. Oh my God, is the club in trouble? What's going on? Like, no, it's because you're on fire for 4 months and you're all there, right? Barb, you're going crazy. Nobody's helping you, right? Well, you got help now. You had to bring them in from over the pond, right? But no, but you're all there. You've all done it, and it's what makes me admire you all so much is that you do it, and by the end, you hate the thing you love the most. But then 30 days later, man, I miss rugby, right? Like, and rinse, repeat. Well, I hope that this kind of helps that it doesn't make you go and hate the game, right? Today alone, you were taught what to do with strategic marketing, what the refs got to do, what's new coaching stuff going on, where are we going with data? So you just got another 20 things to put on the sticky board. And if you try to do them all, you're gonna get 2 done and you're gonna get a whole bunch half-assed done and you're gonna be running with your hair on fire. Right? So if you simply, and one of our ideas is we would have a breakout to say, okay, everything you heard today, just do this exercise. You can do it yourself, you can do it together, right? But it doesn't take a year to do, like it took a year for us to go this way because it was change management. I was trying to change a whole division on how they did their job, right? And we all know nobody likes change. I do, but I'm weird, right? The only person who likes change is a baby with a dirty diaper, right? So you have to do change management. That's what took the year, right? You can do this in our clubs if you put the people in the room and say, listen, I'm tired of doing this shit myself. And I know you all have great ideas, you're all volunteers or paid or whatever, who cares, but you know your core. It could be a core 2, 1, could be a core 5 or 10, who knows, you know your club. But get them in early and just do the first exercise. What worked, what didn't, why? Okay, so we need to do more things that did the things that worked and that helped us make things work and stop doing the things that helped us not get things done. Okay, with that in mind, what should we do? And then do this with them. And I guarantee you, when that person who's always come in and wanted a lawnmower, and you just said, no, we can't, we gotta pay for a roof, like, get it. You do this with him, he's the one who's gonna say, I don't need a lawnmower this year. You don't have to tell him no. right? When that person who always wants to be halfway done the first thing to start planning the next thing, you can say, stop. And he'll go, yeah, you gotta get this done. You gotta finish what you started, right? It's the easiest way to tell an employee, a volunteer, a kid, no. Cause you know all the other shit we gotta do. Right, and quite honestly, if that's the only thing you take from it, that's probably the best thing I can give you is empower you to be able to tell somebody no at a club. Who's a volunteer, who you're scared to say no to, because they might not come back tomorrow and now you gotta do more stuff. If they know what they wanted and they know where it ranks, because you shared the rest of the stuff and they were part of the decision to put it in the lower medium. They just told themselves no. And they're excited to come over and help you with the things they do want to do. You didn't have to convince them, bribe them, or be scared they're gonna leave. Right, so I think that's really what you and I talked about all the things that we're gonna be shared today. How are we gonna give them some tools to be able to take it and not be, wow, great conference, we're all on the high, we go home, we got amazing ideas, and guess what happens? 30 days, hair's on fire, doing the old shit the old way. All right, I've done it myself a million times. I go to a conference, I'm so jacked. Come back, gonna change the world. No, I'm not. I'm gonna go back to my old ways, and I'm gonna go. This was a game changer for me personally, right? It's taken a long time to change it in a corporate environment. But if you get the right people around the table early, you can do this in a weekend. Right? You can do 3 sessions, 3 nights at a pub with the core people, do the first one, meet a week later, do the second one, meet a week later, do the third one. Your business, your strategic plan's ready to go for the year. It is that simple. It can be, right? It looks complicated just because of the scale. Alright, so. Cool. Shut up, Stralak. First round on you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. So yeah, so that's the hope of just taking away these couple of tools, hopefully to simplify it for you. But that was fantastic, thank you, Jeff. I mean, we've had a couple of meetings and this is the one I've been really looking forward to because I think it's so important. It's also why if you see so much stuff has come from us in the last couple of weeks is the hope it kind of gets out before Christmas, because that's when people usually just stop for a minute and have time to stop and think, that it can then start to use from January. That's the mentality. I'd apologize for all the stuff that's been sent at you, but that's the hope, is that's when you have time to kind of digest. All right, I'm gonna sip over to the other one if you.
Perfect. Okay, so we're just gonna wrap up with a few final thoughts and some reflection time. While you're doing this reflection, we've left the sheets out from our earlier presentation, so minor, youth, senior, junior. If you have any other thoughts that have come up since you were writing on those sheets, anything else you want to add there, anything that you want to come back to us, we are going to take those back with us. So anything that you want to give us, throw it on those sheets before you leave here today. But what I want you to do is just take a few minutes, think about it on yourself maybe for a second, then find someone who maybe you haven't spoken to yet today, or you don't really know, and think about what is your biggest takeaway from today. What's someone or something that you want to know more about, right, or more from, and then what's going to be your next step leaving here. Okay, so off you go. We'll give you like 5 minutes. Virtual group, you can just think about that on your own. If you want to put them in a breakout group, you could do that, but just take some time, think, reflect before we finish, and then I'll bring this back up for you in a sec. But that is also somewhat reflective of some of the questions we're asking of you here. So if you can take a minute before you leave and fill out our exit survey, just helps us with planning for future ones.
Can I get out of here today? Great. Okay, so what we're gonna try to do is get some of you to tell us your thoughts. That's why I'm down here with the mic. As you lot are still talking. Come on, locals. Give us some input. What are the feedback and thoughts from your group?
Oh, we were just talking about rugby versus other sports and the
differences in process.
You know, we didn't think that there's a huge barrier to entry for rugby, so we kind of wondering, you know, racial diversity within it, and then, you know, as hardscaping have a role to play with that. We're picking around some ideas in terms of, we need a big field, and, you know, our urban areas are not leaving a lot of grass anywhere. And so just wondering about the barriers to entry for kids to play, because we know that that's really not be cheap in terms of a sport. Comparatively, like athletes and the other sports, you know, something. So yeah, I'm just taking some ideas around that.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else want to add from the other side? Yeah, we're going here, hold on.
So one comment somebody made about inviting people into the sport, a related story to you. Some of you might know who Herb Carnegie was. Should have been the first black hockey player in the NHL, but he wasn't. I used to work with him. We started a program in North York where we went out to black communities, racial communities, to invite them into hockey. So Herb would be there, I'd be there. Oddly enough, I'd have 2 kids talking to me, Herb would have 14 kids talking to him. I think it depends on who's asking, who's making the invitations, because I can go out and talk to an East Asian community and they don't relate to me. Somebody who is East Asian will relate to them better, so maybe we need to think about not the invitation we're making, but who's making the invitation.
Interesting, so a bit of diversity amongst our volunteers and our board. We're probably going to be the first step in some of that, right? Awesome, anybody else on? Anybody else want to add? Everybody gone shy? Oh, Rebecca?
So I just want to build on what was said there about inviting people to the game, and I think that theme was really dialed in and explained well from the coaching side, and I think that same principle does and can apply to the official side. So from that perspective, tapping people on the shoulder who are young and keen and involved in the game and inviting them to become a referee, I think is an important point to push home as well, because I know my origin story as a referee came from somebody doing that exact thing of tapping me on the shoulder and inviting me to a course, and I'm like, yeah, okay, like I want to stay involved in the game, let's do it. But I think we need more referees, and I really like that point in terms of tapping people on the shoulder to become coaches. And I just want to emphasize that on the official side as well, because we are working together to build the best product and deliver that for the athletes that are involved. And I think that comes from the official side as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? Before we finish up? No? Okay, that's.
All right, if you haven't already, please scan that for a survey. I promise it's not that difficult, it's made to be short. Lastly, just a huge big thank you again to Gary and to all our students here who put up with us throughout the day. Okay, great big thank you to all of our staff who are here and helped, right? Charlotte, our leader. And big thank you to all of you, because this doesn't happen and this doesn't go any further or have any impact if it's not for you here and what you're going to do after this. Okay. Lastly, who's going to join us for the social?
Here.
We got a few takers. Yeah, so we're heading to the Fixed Gear Brewing Canteen, okay, just down the street. Before we go to that though, if everybody can grab a chair, we're just gonna stack them back on the side where the rest of them are. Pull the tables out of the way. We want to try and leave this nice and clean.
Thank you.
Piles of 10, piles of 10, yes. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone on Zoom for joining us. It's not the same, I know, as being in person. We appreciate you being here and listening.